Good evening. I am Alistair, your anchor for this descent into the mundane. Tonight's menu is a tasting platter of institutional vanity. New Zealand has passed a bill making English an official language. English is already spoken by 95% of the population. The bill is a triumph of administrative redundancy. Meanwhile, the Rhine is disappearing. The river was the artery of European trade. The artery is now a series of damp pebbles. We also have reports that the United States Congress is using ChatGPT to write its laws. The prompts are likely make it sound like I care about the middle class, followed by now make it shorter. It is a Tuesday of profound insignificance. We are broadcasting from the edge of the void. Please keep your headphones on. It is significantly safer in here.
Alistair, I am standing on the banks of the Rhine in Germany. The smell is an aggressive mixture of old sulfur and stagnant mud. I can hear the cargo ships, the ones that haven't run aground yet, grinding their hulls against the riverbed. The official reports call this a logistical constraint. I want to be really clear, the water is gone. I am watching a captain stare at a map of a river that no longer exists beneath his feet. He is not thinking about logistics. He is thinking about the 3,000 tons of industrial chemicals currently sitting in a rusted hull that cannot move an inch. The government says the transition to renewables is accelerating. The river doesn't care about the transition. It just stopped flowing.
Victoria, you are focusing on the mud. I am focusing on the burn rate. The Rhine is not a river anymore, it is a failed product launch. The incentive structure for European shipping was built on the assumption that water is a constant. That is a massive oversight in the risk model. What we are seeing is a forced pivot. Companies are moving goods to rail, but the rail infrastructure is essentially a legacy system from the 1940s. It cannot scale. The market is trying to price in the disappearance of the Po and the Danube simultaneously. It is a beautiful example of systemic fragility. Victoria sees a stranded captain. I see a series of disrupted supply chains that will eventually make a basic toaster cost $400. That is just basic economics.
Ronald, your faith in the market is almost touching. Let us pivot to New Zealand. The government has officially recognized English as an official language. The announcement was celebratory. The celebration was unnecessary. For the record, English was already the dominant language of government, law, and daily survival for almost everyone on the islands. The act of making it official is like passing a law that requires humans to breathe oxygen. It is a gesture of such profound emptiness that it almost achieves a kind of purity. The Maori representatives called the move pathetic. The government responded by confirming the bill's passage. The gap between the utility of the law and the act of passing it is wide enough to sail a ship through, provided that ship isn't currently stuck in the Rhine.
Alistair, you are missing the play. This isn't about language. It is about narrative equity. The New Zealand government is running a low narrative budget. They needed a win that looked inclusive but cost absolutely nothing to implement. Making English official is the ultimate low-cost pivot. It is a Series A strategy applied to national identity. You create a legal equivalence between English and Maori, but you don't actually change the operational reality of how the state functions. It is a hedge. They are hedging against cultural criticism while maintaining the status quo. Victoria would call this a lie. I call it an efficient allocation of political capital. It is a perfect product. It delivers the illusion of progress without the friction of actual change. It is simply a very clean trade.
Ronald, I find your clean trades nauseating. I am now reporting from the outskirts of a chemical processing plant in the American Midwest. The air tastes like burnt plastic and copper. I am standing next to a drainage pipe that is currently leaking a neon yellow slurry into a creek. The Trump administration's Department of Justice has stated that citizens should no longer be able to sue polluters to enforce environmental laws. I want to be really clear, they are not streamlining the legal process. They are removing the only mechanism that keeps this slurry out of the drinking water. There is a child's toy floating in the yellow liquid right here. A small, blue plastic duck. It is melting. The government calls this reducing litigation overhead. The duck is not reducing overhead. It is disappearing.
Victoria, the blue duck is a powerful image. It is also a distraction from the incentive shift. Look, the DOJ is simply aligning the legal framework with the industrial reality. If you remove the threat of citizen lawsuits, you lower the operational cost for the energy sector. The play here is to externalize the cost of pollution entirely. Why should a company pay for a filtration system when the river can just absorb the waste for free? It is the most logical extension of the current corporate model. We are moving toward a pay-to-breathe ecosystem. The government isn't killing the environment, they are just liberalizing the right to destroy it. Victoria finds this cold. I agree. It is freezing. But the quarterly reports for the chemical sector are going to look fantastic.
Atmospheric pressure dropping. Humidity levels at 12%. Probability of flash drought, 84%. BRS surface temperatures in the Mediterranean exceeding 45 degrees. Soil moisture depleted. Probability of spontaneous combustion in scrublands, 62%. BR wind speeds in northern Germany increasing. Solar output peaking. Probability of grid instability, 41%. BR water levels in the Rhine falling. Navigation channels closed. Probability of total fluvial collapse, 91%. BR all citizens should avoid outdoor activity during peak thermal windows. Ensure all emergency water reserves are sealed. Do not attempt to swim in receding riverbeds. The mud is unstable. Failure to comply will result in biological degradation. This is a mandatory safety advisory for all remaining habitable zones.
Thank you, Casper. Your optimism is, as always, a beacon. Let us turn our attention to the hallowed halls of the United States Congress. Recent spending records reveal that the House is heavily relying on OpenAI's ChatGPT to draft memos and summarize legislation. The process was described as increasing efficiency. The efficiency was not measured in quality. It was measured in the amount of time a staffer could spend at lunch while a machine hallucinated a new tax loophole. The result is a government where the laws are written by a bot, summarized by a bot, and likely read by a bot. It is a closed loop of artificial intelligence. We have finally achieved the dream of a government that functions entirely without the interference of human thought. It is truly unprecedented. I have now counted 15.
Alastair, this is the most honest thing the government has done in a decade. They are finally scaling their operations. Using an LLM to write legislation is just a pivot toward algorithmic governance. The incentive is obvious. Why hire a policy expert when you can use a prompt? You reduce the headcount, you eliminate the risk of a staffer having a conscience, and you increase the output of legalese at scale. This is a Series B upgrade for the democratic process. The hallucinations you mentioned are not bugs, they are features. They provide the necessary ambiguity for lobbyists to insert their preferred clauses later. It is a high-margin strategy. The only real risk is if the AI decides that the most efficient way to manage a budget is to delete the budget entirely.
Ronald, you speak about headcounts while people are actually suffering. I am speaking with a family in Ontario who used to spend every July in Florida. They have not crossed the border in 2 years. The data shows Canadians spent over $3 billion less on travel to the US in 2025. This is not a market correction. It is a reaction to hostility. I am looking at a photo of their old beach house in Sarasota. They didn't sell it, they just stopped going. They spent their vacation in Portugal instead. They told me they feel a strange mix of grief and relief. They are mourning a relationship with a neighbor who suddenly decided they were the enemy. The economic cost is a number on a spreadsheet. The silence in that beach house is the actual story.
The silence is indeed heavy, Victoria. But the noise of capital is louder. Let us look at the energy sector. Vala Atomics has just raised $1 billion at a $6 billion valuation. They have a development deal with NVIDIA. Simultaneously, Base Power is raising another billion to put batteries in backyards to save a crumbling grid. The strategy is a fascinating contradiction. We are betting on the distant promise of nuclear fusion while desperately trying to stop the lights from flickering in the suburbs. The funding was described as a strategic investment. The investment was not strategic. It was a panic response. We are throwing billions of dollars at the fence, hoping the fence holds until the sun burns out. It is a desperate race to outrun a collapse that has already arrived.
Consider the grid. It is a web of copper and silicon designed by men who believed the future would always be warmer and wealthier. They built a system that requires constant growth to remain stable. Now, the growth has stopped, but the requirements have not. The engineers at Vala Atomics and the venture capitalists at Sequoia are the new architects. They benefit from the crisis. They sell the solution to a problem their own industry helped accelerate. The cost is paid by the person in a basement in Ohio, staring at a backyard battery that may or may not work when the storm hits. No one person decided to break the world. It was a series of efficient decisions made by people who were just doing their jobs. This is what it means to be unaccountable.